we had an agreement with Heber City and Wasatch County. We said at that time we were trying to work out not the exact surveyed route, but the route where the north bypass on the north end coming off of 40 to come around. And we at that time made the comment or the statement to the city that most of that on the north end is in Wasatch County. We would appreciate your support to support us on that as we acquire that land or as we work on that route. The south end, the piece we're talking about here, was in Heber City primarily. And so the reciprocal was that Heber City, you designate where it's going to be, a non-access, limited access bypass road on the south end to join onto that one that comes around from the north end. So that was the agreement. Even prior to that, Heber City and the county both agreed that we would work together to build this bypass. And that's where we are. I don't know, I guess I don't see this as envisioned. You're aware that the county, and I think we support something, but the county passed a resolution this past year that if there wasn't developed, and it came up as the Burton property and whatnot, that if this wasn't developed as a no access limited bypass, the corridor money was off the table. Now we haven't acted on that resolution, but we did pass it. So that you're aware where we are. And I don't know whether this would ever turn, whether you'd ever get a truck to make that big swing around. I think part of the problem, and I don't know, but we establish the route. As developers come on the north end, they know where that route's going to be. And they're aware of it. This probably should have been identified where it was before Burton ever came in, before Prost ever bought it. So that when they bought that, they knew that there was going to be a bypass go past there. And that wouldn't. Now, obviously, you can't buy it now. We can't buy. UDOT at some point is going to have to build this bypass. Because Heber City, Wasatch County, we can't afford to build this road. But if the route is established so that any developer that comes along says, okay, we know what's there.
It's in your master plan.
It's in the master plan. What we want to do is not possible because that's already been designated. And I guess that's where we're coming from is I don't see it tied down yet.
They accommodate it, and then they work around it. I'm on with Kendall. If you're going to wait for the Turner property to decide what they want, we're moving south another mile. We might as well just do it. Because if I'm developing that, I'm not going to accommodate you.
Well, there is no further south. It's either this.
That's my point. That's the point.
So basically, from the county, there is no funding. You're not going to support it as far as.
Well, we're not saying that yet, but I mean, I guess we'll have to look and see what this turns out to be.
Because that's important.
But the agreement we had in place was there would be a limited no-access bypass around there, and that's not what we're seeing. I guess I agree with what Heidi and Kayleen said. You can't account. I mean, we're on the premise that the trucks won't take that. You had 2 or 3 more stoplights on Main Street like you might have to do as it goes. I don't know that you'd say that. I know what the traffic studies show, but I think I agree with what they're saying on that.
Except that kind of bend.
Well, yeah, they won't take that kind of bend.
Well, this isn't a lot different than before. All we had was one that came just like this. And the time between this and this is insignificant. So, other than the shape is a little different. It's a little further south. This would have had the same effect on anybody that was taking the time to watch. We did look at that.
So Bart, haven't we talked to UDOT about their willingness to help us participate in the construction of this road, and they told us they're not interested?
They said it's a local issue.
So I think it's fair to say from UDOT's perspective, we don't think we're getting any help.
Well, not now. I'd counter that. We've talked to UDOT, we've talked to the state about it with the legislature. At some point in time, everything stops and they will participate. They're not willing to come and volunteer at this point in time, but it won't be long.
We've worked with UDOT over the years, and you guys have too. They know it's going to be their highway.
It's going to fail, and they'll come in and build it. That's why the preservation of the lot of the route becomes so important, because then we control where it goes.
How many years do you think that is? 10 more?
I
5?
don't know, another 10,000 residents? It's hard to say. I mean, Friday afternoon, you might get it in a week.
Yeah.
You know, that's the whole thing.
Depends who's trying to get where.
That's our role, is to plan. We don't want to wait till the failure happens and then say, what we doing? We plan because it's going to happen.
Well, how receptive
Well,
has
the other
Dan
access.
Castle been, Mike?
Very.
He's worked on it.
He's
There's-
pushing for it all. In fact, tried to get it in study last year. They understand that. But again, back to Mark's position, UDOT's not going to put on the stip and actually put money into it until it fails. That's when it does, they'll come do it. And all of us know that's happening sooner rather than later. So we still got to preserve the route.
So, I guess my thought is if we really think that UDOT's gonna be the one to build it, if we can preserve the corridor, that makes that out much easier, but there's no money in the corridor preservation fund to do that anytime soon. We really wanna protect it. And we may have somebody wanting to develop it next month.
Well, that's my point. But if you figure it out the best route, make it fit the specs, and put it on your master plan, it's preserved. They can't use it.
Actually,
They'll have to build around it.
if they don't need it, if they can demonstrate they have other ways to serve the property, our only option is to buy it. That's what happened with Copes. We said, hey, this has been on our master plan, we need to incorporate this in. They said, you can't make us buy it, or you can't make us build it, we don't need it. We got access on 40 and...
I'm not suggesting build it, but they can't build on it. In other words, the route's preserved.
That's correct, only if you're willing to buy the property. Then you can't keep property from them without paying for it if they don't need it. So, without buying it. And that's the position we were in with that piece. We hope to work with the other piece, Turner. But I'm not sure if we've got support on the corridor preservation funds, so if we're just winging it on ourselves, then that's good to know.
But aren't you guys saying that if we had told the Burton lumber people, look, there's going to be a road here, do what you want, they wouldn't have done it, right? Isn't that what you guys are saying? But instead
I guess that's the assumption, if that
Yeah.
route was established like it is on the north end.
then we could have gotten corridor
Then anybody
preservation.
comes and say, okay, there's gonna be a road there, how's our development gonna fit with that road?
And also,
Not that we wanna do a development, now you make the road fit on development.
Right.
I'll
You know-
say that buy the right of way right now.
It was only
Yeah.
10
Have
feet.
to.
Let me just say, I think you would have to, when it's more developed here, you can't just tell somebody, this is where we planned our road, you've got to accommodate us. Sometimes they will. On the north end where it's less dense, maybe they will, but if it gets down to where the rubber meets the road and they're gonna say, look, I'm a private property owner, that's my property. I know you want a road to go through there, I'm ready to develop now. This is how I'm gonna make money on my density. If it's that important to you, city, you purchase it. Otherwise, I'm not legally necessarily bound to accommodate you.
But I guess you control your density.
Oh, the zoning's already, no, the zoning's already there. The zoning's already set. So it's a little different on the south than it is, it's a little different on the south than it is on the north. It's less dense.
It is now.
It's apples and oranges a little bit.
It's commercial and there is no maximum density.
It is now.
Let me say one thing too. What Kendall said is in our position in the past based on what we've seen. My vote would be contingent on what we see. If we could see a road there that's going to be somewhat accommodating to a truck bypass, I don't know why we wouldn't support it.
We've not acted on the resolution, we just passed it as a
There's a
statement of
discussion
support.
because what we saw was going somewhere else. But if we're serious about doing it,
Bart's trying to deny is people are upset with what we're trying to do with this road. My understanding from county council is if we allow any access, funding's off the table.
Not necessarily.
If
limited's not done, but
if we have to, well, if we don't allow, I don't think we don't allow access, the city or the county's gonna have to buy the whole land and develop the whole thing on themselves. If you allow maybe one access, you may not have to come up with all the money to fund for it.
Well, but, I mean, just, I guess, the example, the little Daniels, what do you call it, expressway. 2 accesses on both sides of that. And those property owners had access another way, they didn't have to have access given to them on that.
Well, that's a different issue, but I don't want to.
Well, it's all part of this, it's all part of this route.
Everybody agrees to that. I still feel that it's such a piece of property anyway, But once again, let's get back to this. If that's alignment, would the county feel comfortable with that alignment bars putting up there to help support that road?
I'd send it to us, we'll look at it as a county.
I think council speak too, I mean, I don't want to be on the top.
So, I understand you adopted a resolution, but I certainly didn't even know that it was even being discussed by the county council until after it was adopted. Did anybody even talk to the city about it?
It was put on the agenda. I don't know.
It was a surprise.
Well, I'd hope you'd reach out to us and say, this is concerning, and we're so concerned we're gonna put this on our agenda and give us a chance to come explain ourselves.
Well, I think that concern's been expressed.
We didn't talk to you about all this? We've had many meetings where we've talked.
But I mean, as far as when you put it on your agenda, to adopt a resolution, to make your statement.
Okay.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if we're interested, I am, and I think the majority of the council is, in actually purchasing that piece of property so that we preserve it, and rather than hope that the developers decide we can work with them and get an exchange with it. And we want to use the preservation funds, how long are we going to have to wait? I mean...
Well, you do the process like we've done before.
Well, yes, I know that.
How
There
much
are
money's
funds
in there?
available.
There's not money in the fund.
The money's committed for how long, Mike? We talked about it the other day.
Oh, Mark and I looked at that a few
Was it
months
3
ago.
years?
I think it was about 3 years.
So you put it down there, you know, you get it
So
approved and
we
get it on the
tell-
list.
we tell
Well,
people we
3
want to
years
buy
till we
it.
start building up enough. I'm not sure it was 3 years to buy all this, but it was 3 years till it was clear to start buying new.
But there is the potential that if the county could strip out the right-of-way and sell the residual land associated with what they bought, then they could replenish the fund and pay
Well,
themselves back.
that was the
That's
intent
the plan.
on that. Once we know, then that extra piece would be sold.
Let me throw another potential wrinkle in the works. We have 2 additional parcels in the Northfields that approached us about potential purchases. Searcher represents one of the properties. We have another one that will further north out. So it's maybe something we need to all think about how far, what are the priorities? Let's put it that way. If the city needs to make commitments on something like this, does that make that a higher priority than what we're looking at up in the Northfields?
Well, I don't know how we can ask the developer to wait 5 years before we buy it when they want to develop it.
Right, and I don't know how I asked these property owners the
Yeah,
same
it's the same,
question.
it's the same.
It's the same question.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah, I think we'll get development pressure faster on this piece than you're gonna get in the North Hills. I mean, UDOT's already said, we weren't even thinking about you for 10 years or longer the last time we had the region 3 director here on the western bypass.
The only thing we know is that the western portion, we know, is a critical component. There's unsurety in this one, whether this really helps the bypass issue. It certainly helps the local traffic issue. It certainly may help the hub intersection, but from an actual bypass standpoint, does this intersection do significant? That was my question. I mean, is it significant enough? to be
It's argumentative
Right.
at best. I mean, it could function without it, that area.
My guess is this portion of it will cost us more than most of the sections we buy up in the Northfields.
We figured several $100,000 for right-of-way.
But I think the only way that the UDOT's going to go along with the southern portion is if there's a paradigm shift, for whatever reason, that they really have to get that excess traffic off of Main Street, and I think the only way that's going to happen is a terrible tragedy. One of those semis like in Provo Canyon this past month that happens right in the middle of Heber City and it burns down 2 blocks, then UDOT might think about it. That's the way I look at it. I think it's just a matter of when we have some sort of catastrophic thing like that on Main Street with all of those trucks. I may be wrong, but I think it's a matter of when, not if.
Well, we're certainly better positioned with UDOT if we have the right of way. But,
Well, and they've been very appreciative and supportive that we have most of the land on the north and the west because of Heber. Heber's obtained a lot of that through annexation and whatnot, as has the county, and they've been very appreciative and very supportive that we've got most of that tied down. That's going to help a great deal.
Playing with my mind.
Sorry, I bumped the switch.
Yeah, Ron?
Hey, Mike, after those two potential parcels could be built, bought, how much more would be left up there on the north main?
Well, I don't even know what the costs involved would be of
no,
those
sure, how much
parcels.
right of way?
How much right of way would be
Oh, how much
left?
right of way?
Uh-huh.
Now, the city's already acquired some right of way in from Highway 40 on the north end.
Between the two, there's about 70% tied down, isn't there?
We would pick up over half of what we would need between Midway Lane and 40, probably at those two
Okay.
additional properties. So it'd be
Okay. But there's still some left
but
to
there's still,
acquire.
yeah, that's not all of it.
Okay.
Ron?
The comment was made, there's no real opposition to this. The only place I've seen it, and I have seen it there, is in a blog where several people don't want to see any of it because you're going through those beautiful fields. But it might make it more palatable if you protected the rest of the north fields. And I'm learning my way and I don't know everything, but could TDRs be used to purchase north fields and help with a road like this?
Help with the right of way.
The right of way, at least. In other words, if you're gonna protect north fields, you gotta have places to, you know,
have sending zones.
yeah, sending places, and this could be one. And you could use the developers, I mean, it's a problem that there's already 4 accesses on this little loop, you know. That's hindsight. The mayor says, let's not go there, but you went there, and I know it caused a little angst with the county. But can TDRs be used, or is it worth looking at? That's my only question.
Well,
really.
TDRs, though, if you pull it out of the north fields, you put greater density here. That's the sending zone.
Well, but
You send the density to another place instead of in the north fields.
But if you
Could they
did
buy
some
it?
upzoning in that area where developers had put the money on the table, then we'd use it for the
Yeah.
road.
And TDRs don't just buy development rights, they still own the property.
Yeah.
Sure.
If we used a bank for the TDRs, where the developers could purchase, and put money into a bank, maybe some of those funds could go towards corridor preservation.
It could be anywhere in the city that they bank the money, right? If we give a density, there was a discussion just the meeting before this of adding, how many acres was it?
Or they want to double the density.
Well, they wanted to double the density, but it was quite a few acres between the two churches and going up to the Bass at Ritchie. It failed 4-3 and they put it off till May. But if now it's sitting there, if they want to go from 20,000 feet per house to 10, they could be made pay for it. And they can put that money into a TDR fund. I was happy to see them not do it, and Heidi spoke and made a difference because they were ready to just give it to them. Well, I think that property owners have a right to what they have. They don't have a right to upscale or annex. And we're endowing them with an economic benefit when we do that, and I have no problem with them paying for it. And if that goes in a bank, a TDR bank, and then we have a place for it, which is buying this route property, is it allowable at least? And is there any political will for it in this group?
I think
That's
it's something to look at. Okay, any more on this, Bart? I'm gonna jump down to number 7.